Hello, class. Today we are going to be starting Unit 1, Chapter 1, Section 1, which is points, lines, and planes. And our objectives today are to identify and model points, lines, and planes, and to identify intersecting lines and planes. So first we're going to start off by making this table here and describe what the object is, how do we name it in geometry, and then to show us an example. So first thing we're going to start with is a point, and in a point, this description says a location with neither a shape nor size. This is named by a capital letter. And so for example, if we have a point here, we have A, and we have a point here, we call it B. Next, we're going to talk about a line, which is made up of points with no thickness or width, and there's exactly one line through any 2 points. And so there's a couple ways that we can name a line. First, we can use 2 points with a line above them. So for example, if we have the line PQ, we label it by PQ and draw the line above it. And that just means that P and Q are both a point that our line goes through. Or we can label it by using a lowercase script letter, so kind of like a cursive letter. So let's go over to our example. If we have a line which has 2 arrows on each end because it goes on forever, we have a point P and a point Q on them. We could also label it by calling it L with a script letter. Then lastly, we have in our chart to fill in is the plane, which is a flat surface made up of points that extend indefinitely in all directions. There's exactly one plane through any 3 points not on the same line. So we can label that by using 3 points that we said are not on the same line. Or we can use a capital, so an uppercase, script letter. So if we go over to our drawing and we draw a plane, and it has 3 points on it, so maybe B, maybe we have point D, and then remember they can't be in line, so we have point C, then we could call this plane B, D, C. And then the order of that doesn't matter as much. Or maybe we can call it by K. That doesn't look like a very good script K. So we'll fix our plane and call it by capital letter K. Next, we have a few things that we need to talk about with points and lines and planes. So we're going to talk about collinear next. Collinear occurs when there are 2 or more points that lie on the same line. We also have coplanar, which is 2 or more points and or lines that lie on the same plane. Those are considered coplanar. So 2 or more that lie on the same line are collinear because of that line, and 2 or more points and lines that lie on the same plane are coplanar. Then we have this, what's called an intersection. Intersections are formed when geometric figures such as lines, planes, points, have 2 or more points in common. So we can see examples of intersections here with our two lines that intersect in a point or our two planes that intersect in a line. So if we repeat that, two lines that intersect form a point, and two planes that intersect form a line. So now let's look at some real-world examples and talk about the geometric term that's modeled in each object. So if we start off looking at number three is a floor in like a kitchen, and that floor is going to extend into many different directions. So this is going to be called a plane. A plane. Okay, then let's look down at number 4, which is our push pin. And here we're specifically going to be looking at the end of the push pin, and the end of the push pin then is going to give us a point. And last, number 5 is our telephone cell phone tower, and that is going to give us a line. Ooh, green is not very good to see on there, so let's try another color. Is a line. All right, if you go ahead and flip to the back page of your notes, we're going to go through some examples now and talk about different ways we can use points, lines, and planes. So if we look at the figure for problem 6, it says name a line containing point K. So if we look here, point K is going to be right here. And we want to talk about another way to label that line. And I'm going to give you one way, and then I want you guys to come up with additional ways for when we come back to class to talk about this. So I'm going to choose A. I can call this line A using my lowercase script letter. All right. And so you're going to come up with another way to label this line that contains point K. And I've come up with 3 other ways, so you'll for sure find another way. All right, number 7 says name a plane containing the point L. And what's another way? So if we look here, we have our plane that contains point L. So point L is right here on our line. And again, there's multiple ways to name this. I'm going to give you one, and then I want you to come up with another way for when we come back to class. And so I'm going to choose 3 points that are not in a line that is going to label this plane. So if I pick 3 points, I'm going to pick L, I'm going to pick M, and let's go ahead and use this J here. So I'm going to call this JML. Okay, this is one way to label this plane. I again have come up with at least 3 more ways to label this on my own, so I want you to go ahead and come up with another one for when we meet back in class. All right, on to the next section, number 8. Okay, here our diagram looks a little bit different. We have 3 lines and a plane that we're looking at here. Okay, so now we're going to name 3 collinear points. Remember, collinear, the definition for collinear is 2 or more points that lie on the same line. And then if we look here, there's only one line that contains 3 points, and that is right here for our line. And so those 3 collinear points would be A, B, and D. All right, so now number 9 says our points A, B, C, and D coplanar. If we look here, point C is right here. Well, we know point C and B are on the same line and A and C are on the same line. And to be coplanar, it says 2 or more points and or lines lie on the same plane. Well, if we look here, A, B, and C, or A, B, and D all lie on the same line. So we know that those are going to be in the same plane, and C connects with A, and so we can call those coplanar because all 4 of those will lie on a plane. So yes, they all lie on a plane. And that plane isn't necessarily drawn in our picture, but we can assume that that's there. All right, number 10, identify the planes in this picture. So in addition to the last one we just talked about, we have, I'm going to give you one and I want you to come up with the other one. And so I'm going to give you plane A, B, and C. So that here is our three right there. We know they lie in the same plane because they are all connected, but they are not in one line. So there's one more that I want you to come up with that should hopefully be obvious for you. All right, then 11, I want you to do on your own and bring that back for class. What is the intersection of line BD and AC? What's the intersection of plane K and line AD? And what's the intersection of plane K and line M? So you come up with those for tomorrow. And I'm going to do number 12 with you, and then I want you guys to go ahead and try 13 and 14 on your own for class. Here we're going to be using what we have learned, and we are going to draw and label a figure for each relationship. So line N intersects plane P at point L, or I, excuse me. So I'm going to start off by drawing my plane P, because that's going to be my biggest part into this. And so I'm going to label that with an uppercase script P. All right, we have line N and it intersects. So line N is going to be drawn straight through. And now I'm not going to continue the line because I want to show that it went through. So it comes out at the end. And this is our line N. This is a lowercase script letter. And it intersects at our point I. So that means it goes through the plane at point I. All right, so we're going to end there today for our lesson online, and I want you guys to finish up 13 and 14 on your own by drawing those figures, and we'll go through them in class tomorrow. Thanks, guys. See you then.